There is a kind of pain that no one talks about, a suffering that hides beneath a forced smile, behind the simple words, "I'm okay," but they are not okay. You see, rejection itself does not destroy people. It is the silence that follows. The moment when someone who once held them in their hands suddenly acts as if they never existed. That silence is what kills. Rejection doesn't destroy people. Silence after rejection does. There is a pain more excruciating than rejection itself, a suffering that lingers long after the initial wound has been inflicted. It is not the rejection that breaks people, but the suffocating silence that follows. A silence that speaks louder than words, that echoes endlessly in the mind of the one left behind, making them question their worth, their existence, their very being. It is not the act of being turned away that cuts the deepest, but the absence of explanation, the void where closure should be. Rejection is a reality of life, and those who are wise accept it with grace. They know that not every door will open, not every hand will remain extended. But even the strongest souls, the most resilient hearts, struggle with the silence that follows. A simple no is painful, but fine. It allows the mind to understand, to process, to move forward. But when rejection is met with silence, the mind does not move forward, it spirals. It creates stories where none exist, searching for meaning in the emptiness. Was I not enough? Did I do something wrong? Was I ever valued at all? The silence feeds these questions, allowing them to fester into self-doubt and despair. Imagine a man who has invested his time, his energy, his love into something or someone, only to be met with nothing when he reaches out. He knocks, but no one answers. He calls, but no one speaks. His words float into a void, never to be acknowledged. What does this tell him? That he is not even worth a response. That his presence is so insignificant that it does not even merit a rejection in words. And this, more than any refusal, is what truly shatters a person. Because at least a rejection confirms existence. But silence? Silence makes a person feel invisible. The human mind is not built to endure unanswered questions. It seeks resolution. It seeks meaning. When denied that, it turns inward, and the weight of uncertainty becomes unbearable. The one who is rejected but given an answer can grieve, can heal, but the one who is met with silence is left in limbo, caught between what was and what will never be, unable to close a door that was shut without a sound. And so they linger, trapped in the echoes of their own thoughts, trying to find a way to escape a torment that has no clear source. And yet, those who choose silence convince themselves that they have done no harm. They believe that by saying nothing they are sparing pain, that by avoiding confrontation they are being kind, but silence is not kindness, it is cowardice. It is an escape from responsibility, a refusal to face the discomfort of honesty. To remain silent is to refuse someone the dignity of understanding, the respect of an answer. It is to leave them wandering through the ruins of something that was, searching for clarity that will never come. To reject someone is human. To walk away from someone is a choice. But to do so without a word is an act of cruelty disguised as passivity. It is the easiest way to cause the deepest harm. Because while wounds inflicted by words will heal, wounds inflicted by silence remain open. And in that open wound, a person slowly loses pieces of themselves. They start to believe the silence is proof of their insignificance, that their presence or absence makes no difference. This is how people are broken, not by rejection itself, but by the emptiness that follows. The one who is left in silence carries it with them. It follows them into their days, into their nights. It lingers in the pauses of their conversations, in the moments of solitude, where they wonder what they did to deserve being erased. They replay memories, searching for answers, trying to decode the and when no answer comes, they do not simply move on, they change. The silence molds them into someone different, someone more guarded, someone who now carries the weight of an unspoken wound. But those who leave others in silence rarely see the destruction they cause. They move forward as if nothing happened, unaware that they have left someone behind in the ruins of an unfinished story. They tell themselves that silence was easier, that it was better this way. But they forget, silence does not end things. Silence leaves a wound that never fully heals, and the echoes of that silence remain long after words would have been forgotten. Silence is not kindness. It is a slow, invisible form of cruelty. There is a deception in silence, a falsehood we tell ourselves to avoid discomfort. We convince ourselves that saying nothing is the gentler choice, that our absence of words is a form of mercy. But silence is not mercy. Silence is not kindness. It is a slow, invisible form of cruelty, one that does not leave bruises on the skin, but carves deep wounds into the soul. It lingers long after the moment has passed, haunting the one left behind, forcing them to carry a burden they do not understand. Kindness is honesty, even when it is painful. A spoken rejection, no matter how harsh, gives clarity. It allows a person to understand, to process, to heal. But silence is an unfinished sentence, a door that never fully closes, leaving the rejected one trapped in a purgatory of uncertainty. The human mind cannot help but fill in the blanks, and more often than not, it fills them with self-doubt, with tormenting thoughts of inadequacy. Was I unworthy of a response? Did I mean so little that even a simple goodbye was too much to ask? Silence forces them to answer these questions for themselves, and the answers they create are rarely kind. The cruelty of silence is that it pretends to be passive when, in reality, it is a deliberate choice. It is the decision to withhold closure, to leave someone lost in confusion. It does not cut quickly like a blade, but erodes slowly like water against stone, wearing down a person's spirit over time. It is a weight that presses on their chest, an unanswered question that replays in their mind, each repetition more painful than the last. And the worst part? The one who chooses silence often moves on without a second thought, while the one left in silence carries its weight for far longer. Imagine a child reaching out for their parent's hand, only for the parent to turn away without a word. Imagine a friend speaking their heart, only to be met with an empty stare. Imagine a lover once cherished, suddenly reduced to a stranger. The absence of words in these moments is not kindness. It is abandonment in its purest form. It is the act of making someone feel as though they no longer exist in your world, as though their presence has been erased without explanation. Those who choose silence often believe they are doing no harm. They tell themselves that speaking would be crueler, that avoiding a difficult conversation is sparing someone's feelings. But the truth is, silence is only easier for the one who inflicts it. It spares them the discomfort of honesty, the burden of confrontation. The one left behind is not spared anything. They are only made to suffer alone. They are left with unfinished thoughts, with wounds they do not know how to close. Silence does not protect, it punishes. And the pain of silence is not always immediate. It does not strike with the force of an insult or a harsh word. Instead, it lingers in the quiet moments, creeping into the spaces between thoughts. It follows the person through their days, a constant reminder that they were not even worth an explanation. It is in the messages left unanswered, in the calls ignored, in the presence that is no longer acknowledged. And over time it teaches a lesson far more damaging than rejection ever could. It teaches them that they do not matter. The difference between cruelty and kindness is not always found in action. Sometimes it is found in what is withheld. A kind person does not run from discomfort. They do not leave others to suffer in the silence of uncertainty. They face the truth, no matter how difficult, and they give it voice. Because they understand that silence is not the absence of harm. It is harm. It is the slowest, most invisible kind of cruelty, the kind that leaves no visible wounds but lingers in the mind long after the moment has passed. A single word can bring closure, but silence leaves ghosts behind. There is power in a single word, a power that can end suffering, close wounds, and allow a person to move forward. One word, spoken with truth, no matter how painful, gives certainty. It grants the rejected a place to stand, a firm ground from which they can rebuild. But silence? Silence does not grant that mercy. It does not give an ending, only an absence. It leaves a wound that does not bleed but festers, a wound that the mind cannot help but press against over and over again. And in that silence, ghosts are born. Unanswered questions, unfinished thoughts, and echoes of what was once real. A person who receives closure may hurt, but they do not remain lost. They are given the truth, and with truth comes understanding. Even if the truth is bitter, even if it shatters them for a time, at least they can begin to rebuild. But silence traps them in limbo, neither here nor there, neither part of the past, nor fully free to move into the future. They become haunted by their own mind, by the possibilities of what could have been, by the cruel uncertainty of never knowing why. These are the ghosts silence leaves behind. Memories that refuse to fade because there was never an end, only an abrupt disappearance. Imagine a friend who suddenly stops speaking to you, a love who vanishes without explanation, a bond that once felt unbreakable, turning to dust with no warning. The mind is not built to accept such an ending. It will search for meaning in the emptiness, replaying conversations, dissecting every detail, trying to make sense of what happened. And when no answer comes, it creates its own. It fills the silence with fear, with self-doubt, with painful possibilities. Did I do something wrong? Was I ever truly valued? Was I nothing more than a passing thought? The lack of closure forces a person to keep searching, even when no answer exists. Silence does not simply end a relationship or a connection, it extends it indefinitely in the mind of the one left behind. They are bound to it, unable to let go, unable to move forward, because there was never a final moment, never a clear understanding that allows the heart to say, "This is done." And so the ghosts remain. They appear in the quiet moments, in the places once shared, in the familiar habits that now feel empty. They linger in the unanswered messages, in the spaces where someone once stood. The cruelest part of silence is that it pretends to be harmless. The one who chooses it often believes they are simply stepping away, that their absence is a neutral act. But what they fail to see is the storm they leave behind in the mind of the other. They do not witness the restless nights, the moments of spiraling thoughts, the way a single unanswered question can erode a person's sense of self. To disappear without a word is to leave behind a wound that time alone cannot heal, because healing requires understanding, and understanding is something silence refuses to give. Closure is not about easing guilt or making rejection easier. It is about respect. It is about acknowledging that someone once mattered, that their presence was real, and that they deserve an ending that reflects that truth. A single word, a final conversation, an honest answer. These things do not erase pain, but they prevent the kind of suffering that lingers for years. They prevent a person from becoming trapped in the past, searching for answers in the silence. They give them the freedom to let go. A person who receives closure may still feel the ache of loss, but they will not be burdened by the weight of uncertainty. They will not spend their nights haunted by what-ifs, by words they never got to say, by doors that were slammed shut without explanation. They will grieve, but they will move on. But the one left in silence, they are forced to carry something heavier, the pain of being erased, of never knowing why, of feeling like a ghost in someone else's life. When words are withheld, they do not disappear. They linger, they haunt, they leave scars that cannot be seen but are deeply felt. It is not rejection itself that wounds the deepest, but the silence that follows, the unanswered questions that turn into self-doubt, the uncertainty that chains a person to the past. A spoken truth, no matter how painful, allows healing. But silence? Silence leaves ghosts. There is a deception in believing that saying nothing is the kinder choice. It is not. It is an escape from discomfort, a way to avoid the weight of responsibility while leaving another to bear it alone. The one who chooses silence may walk away untouched, but the one left behind is forced to carry a burden that never should have been theirs. They search for meaning in the emptiness, filling the silence with their own pain until it becomes a part of them. Words have the power to set people free. A single word can provide closure, can give someone the clarity they need to move forward. It does not have to be long. It does not have to be poetic. It only has to be honest. To leave someone in silence is to erase them, to deny them the dignity of an ending. But no one truly disappears. Those who are left in silence do not fade. They become shadows in the mind of the one who abandoned them, appearing in the quiet moments, a reminder of what was left unsaid. So choose words over silence. Choose truth over avoidance, because the pain of honesty is temporary, but the weight of silence lasts far longer than you will ever realize. Thank you, and may you always choose to speak with courage. God bless you.